is in this morning. Good morning to you.
Morning.
We are talking about an interesting subject this morning, gender lending bias. What is it?
This topic has me really riled up. So a little backstory. Right now, me and some of my business partners are trying to purchase a commercial space. Exciting, a good, smart financial move. We've worked really long and hard to save money in our business. And getting a commercial loan or a commercial mortgage has been a fascinating process, because what I have learned, and there's some studies, a recent study actually that supports a lot of this, is women have a lot more hurdles to jump through. There's a lot more bias that goes on when it comes to lending, and I definitely think that this bleeds into personal lending, but certainly when it comes to commercial lending, there's a lot that goes on.
Tell me about some of the questions that you have been asked.
Yeah, so I'm currently in the process of applying with different lenders again to try and get the best rate. And it's a person-to-person experience for the most part. And I was shocked to find, it's a bit of a belittling. Does your husband, that's a lot of money. Does your husband know that how much money this is? Yeah, so...
How do you even respond to that?
How do you respond?
Do you show them a calendar that it's 2050?
They're not all like that, but yeah, there's that, there, little woman. This is a lot of money.
Okay,
yeah.
So you said that there are some study numbers that support exactly what you were experiencing.
Yeah, so the WEB Alliance came out with, I think it was just in May actually, some information looking at women in business, and what they found is that 42% of Canadian women really struggle to get access to capital. So whether that's a small business loan, whether you're like me, you're trying to get a mortgage to buy something that's going to be a long-term asset, this is a big issue for them. And then what was coming up was that overall, they were really perceived as women, as a category, that doesn't need as much financing as a male-run business for whatever reason. And what they saw was that there were more rejections due to poor security, so maybe they didn't own a property, or and that their credit history really played a role into that. Way more. They were not approved as much as men. In fact, when it came to the process, there was about a 30% discrepancy in women needing to show more paperwork than men. So the approval process looks different, which is pretty interesting.
So if somebody else is going through this, how do you advise what do you advise that they do to avoid as much as they can?
So as I've learned this, I've just started to call it out. And so I just say, is that the same if I was a male? This is the same process, which, it may be a bit aggressive, but I think right now it's such a, ambiguous. The lending process in general is pretty,
Have they all said yes, it is the same?
Yeah, of course. No one's going to come out and say, no, little woman, we're making you do a lot more. No, they're pretty good, and I don't have anything really to compare it to, as I'm not a man, but I think it's important to know where it shows up and really, be conscious of that. The other thing that I am really encouraged to see is that there is a lot more sort of tech-enabled, online lenders, and they're coming into a space where, if you're going to go for best interest rate, you're always going to get that from the commercial bank or the BDC, but there's companies there's a new company in Canada called OnDeck, which provides small business loans, high tech, high touch, and what these guys do is because it's a tech company essentially, so they don't look at gender at all. They have they have a proprietary assessment tool called their OnDeck score that looks at 2,000 different data points and doesn't take in your personal credit history, so it doesn't look at you as an individual, looks at how is your small business performing, and then they decide how much they lend from there. So I really like this, and I hope that this is the way that the traditional banking system goes, where it's not about you and me and our interactions. It's about, let's look at the performance of the business, take the gender out of it, and really, go from there.
When you are applying, what is your strongest credit reference?
Honestly, your bank account. And I think,
is that personal or work?
It's both, unfortunately, but your work is more important. So keeping, tight financial records, having, again, just solid cash flow is pretty important. So there's a number of things that you can do, but my sort of advice from day one was, I am not an accountant. I enjoy working with money, and I feel like I'm pretty good with money, but I always so from day one, I've worked with a really strong accounting team who's encouraged us to keep our business in the best shape that it can be in.
When it comes to getting approved, what can increase your chances of getting a
Yeah, one thing that I was surprised by was even just your references, that there will be reference checks, and just knowing to reach out to your references, give them a heads up. Sometimes, if you don't let the person who's a reference know, they may think that somebody's calling for a different reason, and they may downplay whatever it is, your business interactions. So it's important to let them know, hey, I'm applying for a loan. Someone may call you. It's important to just talk about, like, we've had a positive experience, these sorts of things. It wouldn't be a reference if it wasn't.
If it wasn't that. All right. And obviously get support from
going through this process. And again, women are so supportive of women. I belong to FWE, which is a For Women Entrepreneurs group, which is amazing. I've found that women mentors are incredible. And so, once you start asking and saying, and I think that's the good thing about women, and maybe in my situation, I've never gone through this process before, so I'm asking a million questions. I'm talking to other businesses. I'm really trying to do my best.
Well, good luck to you, and thanks for sharing your experience. For more details and cost-saving ideas, you can check out